Moderatism seeks compromise in politics by finding a middle ground between extreme positions. For example, moderate politicians might negotiate to pass a bill that satisfies different interests without leaning too far in any direction. In many democracies, moderate parties play a crucial role in forming coalition governments and promoting stability. Capitalism is an economic system where private individuals or businesses own and operate for profit. In capitalist societies, businesses compete in a free market, and individuals can start their own enterprises to pursue wealth. For instance, the United States operates under a capitalist system where entrepreneurship and innovation drive economic growth. Syndicalism advocates for workers' control of industry through labor unions and direct action. In a syndicalist society, workers in a factory might collectively own and manage their workplace, making decisions through democratic processes. During the early 20th century, syndicalist movements emerged among labor unions in countries like France and Spain, aiming to empower workers and challenge capitalist structures. Corporatism organizes society into groups representing different interests to collaborate in policymaking. In some countries, there are councils where government, businesses, and labor unions discuss and set economic policies together. For example, corporatist elements can be found in the governance structures of countries like Germany, where industry associations have significant influence on policymaking. Separatism advocates for the separation of a particular group from a larger political entity to form a new independent state. An example is Catalonia's movement in Spain, where some Catalans seek independence from Spain to establish their own nation-state. Catalonia has held several referendums on independence, reflecting the desires of many residents to break away from Spain. Republicanism supports a system of government where the head of state is an elected representative of the people rather than a monarch. The United States is an example of a republic, where citizens vote for their president. In a republic, leaders are elected through democratic processes rather than inheriting their positions. Progressivism advocates for social reform and improvement through government action, aiming to address issues like poverty, inequality, and corruption. An example is the progressive era in the early 20th century, where laws were passed to regulate industries and improve working conditions. Progressive movements continue to push for reforms in various aspects of society, including healthcare and education. Imperialism is the policy of extending a country's power and influence through colonization, military force, or economic dominance. An example is the British Empire's control over India during the 19th and 20th centuries. Imperial powers often exploit resources and labor from colonized regions for their own benefit. Egalitarianism promotes equality among all people, regardless of their social or economic status. In a society that values egalitarianism, everyone would have access to the same opportunities and resources. For instance, Scandinavian countries like Sweden prioritize egalitarian policies, providing universal healthcare and education to all citizens. Transhumanism is a political ideology that focuses on using technology to enhance human capabilities and transcend biological limitations. An example of transhumanist ideas in the real world is the development of technologies like genetic engineering and brain-computer interfaces to improve human health and cognitive abilities. Communitarianism emphasizes the importance of community values and responsibilities over individual rights. In a communitarian society, people might prioritize the well-being of the community over personal gain. Some indigenous cultures, like the Maori in New Zealand, exhibit communitarian values through collective decision-making and resource sharing. Authoritarianism is a form of government characterized by strong central power and limited political freedoms. Examples include North Korea, where the government tightly controls all aspects of life, and China, where the Communist Party holds significant authority. Authoritarian regimes often suppress dissent and opposition to maintain control. Liberalism prioritizes individual freedoms and rights, including freedom of speech, religion, and the press, along with limited government intervention in the economy. The United States and many Western democracies adhere to liberal principles. Liberal democracies typically have systems of checks and balances to protect individual rights and ensure government accountability. Conservatism seeks to preserve traditional values, institutions, and societal norms, often resisting rapid change. For example, conservative political parties in various countries advocate for maintaining traditional family structures and resisting social reforms. Conservatism can manifest in different forms, from fiscal conservatism focusing on economic prudence to social conservatism emphasizing moral values. Socialism advocates for collective or government ownership and control of the means of production, aiming for equitable distribution of wealth and resources. Examples include Scandinavian countries like Sweden and Norway, which have strong welfare states and public services. Socialism aims to reduce income inequality and provide social safety nets for all citizens. Communism envisions a classless society where the means of production are commonly owned and goods and services are distributed based on need. The Soviet Union under Lenin and Stalin and Maoist China are historical examples of attempts to implement communism. Communist ideologies vary, but they generally seek to abolish private property and establish a society based on cooperation rather than competition. Anarchism opposes hierarchical and coercive structures of authority, advocating for voluntary cooperation and mutual aid among individuals and communities. Examples include the Spanish Revolution of 1936 and contemporary anarchist movements promoting decentralized decision-making. Anarchist societies prioritize direct democracy and reject centralized governments. Fascism is a far-right authoritarian ideology characterized by strong nationalism, dictatorial power, and suppression of opposition. Historical examples include Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler and Fascist Italy under Benito Mussolini. Fascist regimes often promote militarism, xenophobia, and the glorification of the nation-state. Libertarianism prioritizes individual liberty and limited government intervention in both social and economic matters. Libertarian policies often advocate for minimal regulation and taxation, promoting personal responsibility in free markets. Libertarian principles influence political parties and movements in various countries, including the Libertarian Party in the United States. Green politics. Environmentalism. Green politics prioritizes environmental sustainability and conservation, advocating for policies that address climate change and protect natural resources. The Green Party in various countries and movements like Extinction Rebellion are examples of green politics in action. Green parties promote renewable energy, conservation efforts, and policies to combat pollution and deforestation. Feminism seeks gender equality, challenging societal norms and institutions that perpetuate discrimination and oppression based on gender. Examples include the suffragette movement fighting for women's voting rights and contemporary campaigns for reproductive rights and equal pay. Feminist movements advocate for women's rights and empowerment in various spheres of life. Nationalism prioritizes the interests and cultural identity of a nation-state, often advocating for sovereignty and independence. Examples include Brexit in the United Kingdom and the rise of nationalist movements in countries like Hungary and Poland. Nationalist ideologies can promote unity and pride within a nation, but also lead to tensions with minority groups in other nations. Populism appeals to the interests and concerns of ordinary people against elites or established institutions, often using rhetoric that emphasizes the will of the common citizen. Examples include the Five-Star Movement in Italy and the presidency of Donald Trump in the United States. Populist leaders often capitalize on public discontent and promise to address perceived injustices and inequalities.